Hi, everyone. I am Vicente Cruz, the Oakland Greens Event and Fundraising Coordinator, and this is our October monthly public general meeting. And as always, we will go over the agenda review and then go through introductions and then follow that. So it is agenda review, intros if needed, which they are. We will have a presentation by candidate Edward Frank and then candidate Selika Thomas. And then we go into Israeli, Palestine, Hamas, virtual events, the movie nights, and that's for 2024 season, Treasury Report, social media, outreach, which we have Stomping for Cornel West, OUSD elections, and Pamela Price press conference, and then announcements, and then that will be the end, and we will move to adjourn. First introduction, like I said, I'm Vicente Cruz, Oakland Greens Event and Fundraising Coordinator. I have Jan Arnold, who is an Oakland Green, Dale Baum, also an Oakland Green, and Orlando Johnson, also Oakland Green, also on the Alameda County Council. And then the next I see is Selika, if you want to introduce yourself, and then Edward, please.
Hello, my name is Selika Thomas, and I'm running for City Council at large in Oakland, and I'm born and raised from Oakland as well.
Edward?
My name is Edward Frank. I live in North Oakland, and I'm running for Oakland City Council for District 1. And thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. And actually, as it was your first, so your presentation is first, and then Selika, don't feel obligated to stay after as well. I'm sure candidates are always busy. We have run campaigns here and also run for office. So if you want to give us, and there's no real time limit. So Edward, please go first.
Sure thing. So my name is Edward Frank. Like I said, I live in District 1. Me and my wife moved here in, 8 years now. I've been a stay-at-home dad for the last many years. I am a very involved parent volunteer at my son's school, Emerson Elementary School. And I'm running because I believe Oakland has the capacity to be sort of a locus of change. I believe that just the history of progressive social movements in Oakland, and just the beauty and the diversity of the city is, I don't know, we can be a model for how things can be done. And I just have a lot of hope for Oakland moving forward. I am a Bay Area native. I was born in Santa Clara. I graduated high school in San Francisco, and my wife is a physician at Kaiser. So we are very much rooted in the community. I've made a lot of connections with a lot of my community members, and just a diverse group of people have all encouraged me to take this step. So I'm sort of honoring the energy of the community around me, and I'm just taking this step because I believe we need sort of brave new leaders to rekindle the imaginations of our citizens here in Oakland. And I want to be one of those sort of bridge builders. I want to reach out to groups like the Oakland Greens to get guidance, because you have a lot of lived experience and wisdom here in the Bay Area that, I believe could be helpful in creating more sort of holistic and compassionate policy. I believe we need to take a good hard look at just the city charter and the budget, and just, build a broad-based coalition throughout our city, and really take a long-term approach to some of the issues like the hot button issues that are being talked about today, and just really do our best to meet people where they are, to build bridges, and to make sure that we're taking care of our most vulnerable populations out there, namely our children and just sort of our unhoused populations and people who just need help. We need to come together and make sure that people are getting the basic resources that they need. So that's what I got. If anyone has any questions for me, I'm all ears. And like I said, I don't have the connections to City Hall, but the more and more I talk with people in my community, the more enthusiasm I'm met with, and the more it just fills me with energy to want to do this work.
Cool. And if I don't have any objections from the other Oakland Green members, I'd actually like to have Selika go first, and we'll do all the questions at the end. Everybody cool with that? Okay. So again, Selika, if you have a little presentation for us that you'd like to do, please go ahead.
Yes, and thank you guys for having me as well. So this is my story. I'm born and raised in Oakland, graduated from Fremont High School, went to college in Oakland, graduated from Laney College. And I bought my house in 2009. I experienced almost home invasions, maybe about 4 times. I've experienced car break-ins. I experienced car chases, me coming home. I was at Popeye, somebody put a gun up to my head and tried to rob me. So I've experienced a lot in Oakland, but because I bought my house in Oakland, you know, I kind of felt like I was stuck for a moment, although I was very scared. And so one day it was just started to be a lot of pile of trash just everywhere on my block. And I was always calling 311. No one was never coming to pick it up. And right by my nephew's school, it was like a lot of abandoned cars, and it was just so much trash. And it used to just irk me because I had to go that way every single day. And so I just felt very defeated, like it was like I lost hope. So as time had progressed, I had built up, you know, a lot of equity in my home. And so I just said, forget it. I put my house, I was had a contingent sale. We was going to sign the paperwork on that Monday. And I just was like, I was gone because it was nothing I can do. And so I woke up one morning and I was just feeling sad and didn't understand why. My sister, she was murdered in Oakland in 2018. And that's why I'm advocating for shot spotters, because we need cameras attached to shot spotters so that we can have footage. It's been over 2,000 murders that haven't been solved because we don't have no cameras attached to shot spotters. In Chicago, it's a 43% decrease in shootings because they now have cameras attached to shot spotters. So because my sister was murdered in 2018, I've been raising my nephew. He's now 11 years old. So when all the trash and stuff start piling up, I just said, okay, I'm done. I'm getting ready to move. And then I woke up one day, I was feeling really sad, didn't understand why was I feeling sad until I got a text. And the text has said, do you want to help your city? And when I looked at the date, it was my sister's anniversary on June 6th of it was June 6, 2023 that I got the message. And so something just rose up inside of me, because I felt like I can do something now. I can help my city. So they were called the Alameda County Star Search. So I went ahead and went and met with them, and they told me the positions that were available. And they said that, you know, if I apply for the at-large position, I would be over the safety. And I feel like I can make a difference. So I've been going to the city council meetings. They all know me by name. They address me. They, you know, they know who I am. They didn't spoke to me, and they tell me that I'm doing a good job because I'm giving them great ideas about the cameras attached to shot spotters. I want drones for home invasions and for burglaries because the police can't get to the home invasions and the burglaries on time. So, and the criminals know that. So when they're robbing, it takes them like 10 minutes, but by the time the police come, they're gone. So when the drones come, they can be dispatched when the alarm goes off. Drones fly 60 miles per hour. They can get there, surveillance the burglar, and follow them until the police come and be able to catch the 1% of the 10% of criminals that's doing the same crimes, which are the ones that's doing the bipping, the home invasions, the carjackings. And for the bipping, I believe they've been doing what I had suggested for that, because I stated that in order to combat the bipping, we need bait cars. And in order for us to catch the bippers, we need to put GPS trackers inside the merchandise. And then that way we can know who's stealing the merchandise. And when I presented that, I had saw some footage that said that they had caught 7 bippers. They didn't really say what they were doing, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was because I've been going to the meetings stating that other cities are doing it and it's working. Also, for I'm sorry, I just went blank. I'm sorry. So it was the bippings that I was concerned about, and I had told them that we needed like more police patrol around downtown Oakland area, and we needed more police patrol around the Hagenberger area because we have those areas is high crime, and we have tourists that come out here from other places. They don't really know about our bipping crisis out here. They didn't had their passports and everything took, and that's helping Oakland to lose money. But my first thing is first, we need to first invest in our youth and, you know, for rehabilitation and mental health, and also rehabilitate the incarcerated and give them faith-based programs. We need to also give them job skill programs and housing when they come home so that they won't have to reoffend. And if they stay working, then they won't rob. So that's my theory. I just want to help the low income. I want to help the civilians that's losing their businesses at a rapid rate. So many businesses is closing because we don't have the proper technology. The police can't get there in time. And it's right there in downtown Oakland, right by the police station, but they're still being bit. Their customers are still being bit, and the businesses are still being robbed. So in order to combat that, we do need rehabilitation, and we need investment in our youth, and for mental health as well. And we also need technology.
Cool. Thank you very much. And anyone have questions? Orlando, please. Yes.
I start in order. Orlando Johnson, Oakland Green Party, County Council, Credential Committee, XYZ. For you, Edward, I was wondering, Edward, do you know Mike Hudson, and do you have a relationship with him?
With whom?
No, I was talking to Edward.
Michael Hutchinson.
Oh, okay.
Michael Hudson, no, I have not met Michael or Mr. Hudson.
Hutchinson.
Mike Hutchinson, the school board president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not know him personally. I know Sam Davis. I'm gonna have lunch with him tomorrow, but I don't know. I haven't met Mike yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave your email, maybe I can connect the dots for you.
Okay. I would appreciate that. I mean, I know he's been a strong leader. He's in a tough position there in the school board. OUSD is chronically underfunded, which I see day to day as as a parent leader at Emerson Elementary School over here. But yeah, I would love to make as many connections as I can. So if you can make that happen, I would love to meet him.
Yeah, guys, just put your I give you my email, or you can put your contact in the chat, and I
Okay,
today.
I'll do that.
So any other questions?
Then for city at large, as the Oakland Green Party, how can we support one thing of your platform that aligns with our 10 core values?
Safety. We in a crisis. We've been having over 100 murders since 1985. And, home invasions is at an all-time high right now because the criminals are more so looking at, they need the person to be there so they can get what they need to get. And that is just a scary thing. I've experienced what civilians is going through right now. So I'm telling you, no, a lot of people probably haven't experienced like a home invasion, but that feeling is, I just can't imagine it. I mean, someone being older, someone already, I think she was in her late 80s in the Oakland Hills. When they broke into her house, she had to shoot to defend herself and they was shooting back at her. I can imagine going through nothing like that. And then recently in the Oakland Hills, 74-year-old woman had to jump from a balcony 10 feet to save her own life, because they wanted to come after her. So people are just, they don't know what to do. I know what to do because I've been through it. And I know when, you fighting for these positions, your life is on the line, but it was a calling from God for my situation because I didn't go and apply. Some people came for me, so I just felt like God used them to come find me, and I need to do what I was called to do. I'm fearless because I done been through so much, and I don't have no fear about anything. What I want for people is what I want for myself, and that's safety. I lost my sister to these streets of Oakland, and just like many others, 2,000 people, murders have not been solved because people is not going to tell. So we need footage. It's so simple. And if they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. So that's why I need to run so I can get the job done. Because if they're not going to do it, I need to do it. I live in Oakland. I live in the Flatlands. I live in the hood. So I know what would make Oakland better. And one point in time, people that lived in the Oakland Hills was a little bit more safer because they have cameras, unlike the Flatlands. They have clean areas, unlike the Flatlands. It's really a lot of discrimination going on in the Flatlands because there's no way this trash should just be sitting here. Is if a lot of people don't understand, it's the broken window theory. If you let the trash sit there, you let the windows stay broken, people are going to add more trash. And then that's not mentally healthy. So when you're looking at that trash, you're already not in a good mental state, then you're going to commit crime. It's going to be a higher crime. They did a study on this. If the trash get thrown out there again tomorrow, pick it up tomorrow. If we clean up the graffiti and they go and graffiti it again, go right back out there and clean up the graffiti. So that's where I'm at. I just want my city to be safe and clean. Oakland is a diamond in the rough. It's so beautiful, but together we can help make it shine. And that's my belief.
Any other questions? Again, before I have a lot, so no, me, okay. So first, some basic ones. This would be for both candidates. Do you have a staff? And out of that staff, which positions are filled and which ones are you looking for? Selika, do you have a staff?
I do not.
Do not yet. Edward, do you have a staff yet?
As of right now, I have a friend who is an attorney who is working by my side and advising me. I am currently seeking sort of a professional political treasurer, but I haven't found one yet. I'm still looking to file my Form 410 so I can create a committee and start, printing materials. I plan on knocking on every door in my district. I'm not going to be like the biggest fundraiser, but I do have a lot of energy and do want to meet as many constituents as possible, because I believe that just as a collective whole, that's where the answers are. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I have energy and intention, and I do have ideas, but I still want to lean on the wisdom of my elders and the people who have lived here longer than I have to address a lot of the issues that we have. So an attorney, yes, a lot of enthusiastic people who are ready to work, but it's still needing to form that committee and get those official people lined up.
Absolutely. And you don't have the amount of money you're allowed to raise. You can definitely run a successful campaign on a lot less. We have. But then first is that you really are going to need someone to do the paperwork for you.
Yep.
We've done it when we were doing it on our own, but what happens is that as you go further and further into campaign, you really need to be campaigning. You need to go to events and all that. You can't be, it gets really, really difficult to do that. So yeah, so staffing too. So then if there's no staff, no infrastructure. So more questions too, and since you're both on city council, this would, again, can fall with both of you. Why do you think the relationship between the community and the police is so poor? So you mentioned, Selika, that people don't call the police, they don't tell. And if I can start with you this time, Edward, why do you think that is? Why does the community not call the police?
I mean, in some situations, so on a bike ride to go pick up our sons on the first day of school, we were riding through the Temescal, and we were on 49th between Gaddock and Telegraph, and a car pulled up, guy pulled out, smashed a window, took a suitcase, threw it in the car, middle of the day on a Tuesday or Monday. We just sat, I took the license plate number, we went and picked my kids up. I went home. I called OPD non-emergency like 5 or 6 times, and it was busy every time. And so I emailed my council member and the mayor and said, here's the story. Here's what happened. Why don't people call? I mean, 911's broken. The people can't even get through to reach the police if they want to. I do feel like there is a big disconnect between the department right now and just the communities that they're policing or trying to keep the peace in. I feel like they rarely make eye contact with anyone who's walking down the street. I'm someone who will turn and face whoever's walking down the street. When I see an officer in a car, I like try to make contact and give them a nod or anything, but they're just like eyes forward, driving through my neighborhood. They're not really connecting in any sort of meaningful way with the communities that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. So I think, revisiting what it is, how they're being trained in the police academies, and how I think we need to revisit how they're taught just to communicate with the communities that they're serving, because there just seems to be a disconnect. I don't know how many officers are actually of our community and how many are coming in from who knows where to do this work. So I would love it if we could identify more people within the community to do that work and to make those real in-person connections, and just have more police on bicycles and on their feet and just like patrolling our neighborhoods and making those relationships happen. So those are some of mine.
Thank you.
observation.
And am I pronouncing your name right? Selika? Am I pronouncing it
Yes.
correctly? Okay.
Mhm.
And same question, why do you think people don't call?
Well, in the Black community, a lot of people don't like to call the police because it's deemed as snitching, And then the laws that we have right now, if you do snitch, you know, they will be able to tell who did it. So a lot of people refrain from doing that. So that's why I said we need cameras. And when I grew up on 25th Avenue and East 24th. And right now it's called the Murder Doves because it was so many murders. But when I grew up, I remember we used to have these tame two police officers that would patrol our neighborhood all the time. And they knew who the people were. They knew who the neighbors were. They even gave out their cards and they had their numbers. And so for the ones that did want to communicate with the police. So I think in high crime areas, we need police assigned to those areas like they had when I was younger, so that they can just be there instead of being way on 98th Avenue and then the shooting is happening on 25th and it got to take them all that long to get there. So if we had police assigned to each district maybe or block or, however they do it, that would lessen the crime. And also getting to know the neighbors, making them feel comfortable and establishing a relationship. If we have a relationship with the police and then they're around all the time, people are not going to do crime because don't nobody want to go to jail. And, I think we need a lot of father figures too, because I'll never forget, it was one police officer, I don't know his name, but I remember he had got into an altercation where some people had tried to rob him. I'm pretty sure you probably know his name. He's from Oakland. And he had ends up shooting at the people that tried to rob him. And so he got shot as well. And it was just so many stories about him online where people were actually saying how he had gave them a pep talk before arresting him. And that's what helped change their life. Even a friend of mine, she was saying she remembered leaving her kid's father because he had told her she was too good for this. And she said she just remember having that father figure speak to her. And she said it just did something and it made her be strong enough to leave him. And it was so many people that had turned their life around because he gave that pep talk to them while arresting them. They did the crime, so they had to do the time, but he planted seeds in a lot of people. So that's why, I'm really for police being from Oakland and being a father figure also to, people that's doing crime, because some people are in survival mode. And some people have mental health issues. And that's a big issue that's going on right now, is that, a lot of people are not thinking about their consequences because they do have mental health issues. And, they shouldn't just be let off on the streets like that. They should actually be rehabilitated and then, given some place where they can continue treatment and, so that they can make wiser decisions when they're out there in the streets. Because releasing them just to the public and they're just going around hitting somebody or just killing somebody and not even thinking twice about it, but then getting right off, that's not good.
Absolutely. And the police officer you know was Ercise Joyner.
Yes, he was a Black cop, right? Yes.
Yes.
I didn't know him personally, but when I seen so many testimonies about seeds that he planted, and he probably don't even know that. But just really, telling somebody something that they probably don't have a mother or a father to tell them that, and it woke something up in them. So if more police can do that, that would be so good for these people. And resources, I feel like, we need to have more jobs for the felons, because if they are working, they will not be jeopardizing their jobs or their housing. A lot of people is in survival mode. So that's where I'm for it too.
That is true. If one of the reasons that there's crime addiction, people get desperate is because there's no living wage jobs, that's for sure. And if I can,
Right.
for my own experience, one of the reasons here, it's not about that people in the community care about so-called snitching or not. It's that, one, if you are any sort of person from the diaspora in this community here in the flats and you call the cops and you were the one to call, you're just as likely to get arrested or shot as the person you're actually calling on. And another reason, again, which is from personal experience here, is that they're nervous because nothing does happen and then they're forced to live in that same community with the person that they had just called on. So those are some of or two. And of course, OPD has a horrible has a horrible reputation, excuse me, from the writers, from what happened to Celeste. I mean, to this day, you can go right down to, so what we have done working with we've actually effectively lowered the underage streetwalkers by 2/5 here in Oakland community. But in doing so, you see cops pulling over, and having sex with prostitutes, or they have relationships with these prostitutes or these streetwalkers all the time. So I think all of those things happen. And then the last thing I'll mention before my next question is the reason also, I think, what I'm hearing about suggesting that police try to be more of parental figures is here, again, this is something that has been with the Green Party, again, against the war on drugs, and here in the Oakland Greens directly. So when you have the epidemic of drugs that are pumped into poor communities, and most of those are the diaspora, people of the African diaspora community, now you've locked away all of those men, all of those fathers. They've done it for generations of people. So now there are so it wasn't a single father. There's another, let's say, philosopher says that the destruction of the Black community, the big power that they wanted to destroy was the Black family. And so they did that by, that was the same thing with slavery
Black man.
and things too. So that, is a concern too. And so I guess this goes back to the same question too, again, for both candidates. So we have violence there, and I would equate violence of theft as well, driving the car into the store, and people running out or just smashing windows in the tourist areas. Why do you think that is? Are we just disproposed to being criminals, or is there another reason why people are so desperate to do that, in your own opinions?
It's soft on crime.
Okay, Edward?
They don't, it's no consequences. It's worth doing the crime. And the police is not around. I mean, you could go in the store, your alarm can go off. The police ain't coming for like 20 minutes. You can get whatever you want in 10 minutes or less and be gone. So if it's no consequences, then, I mean, they don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. They go keep doing it. That's why they're doing it. And they're just getting even more brazen. I'm talking about taking a whole car and just putting it inside of just in San Francisco. Like, that's bold. You know what I mean? So they will keep getting more and more bold until somebody get in office that they can't play with.
So funny, that particular thing is actually uniquely Australia. That's where it actually started, Australia. So you don't think it's the fact that they just don't have living wage jobs? You don't think that it's that right now half of the budget is to police, and yet they don't come, or they only come if the description is 6 foot tall Black male, with a gun, or if it's in a more affluent area like the hills, all that, where they will come. Because I could say now, the Oakland Greens, we've talked about this too. We think it's because there's no, like, if you gave them the resources, if we actually had, when we put everybody on lockdown and they put all of these addicts and houseless people into hotels, if there was services in those hotels to get them off of the drugs, to actually train them. And let's also be clear, which is another, prison has not been for rehabilitation in decades. I mean, I can't think, I don't know.
That's what I want to start though.
Right. And I agree with that too. So I would say for me, and I think that our the policy Oakland Greens too would say that it's more for living, not lack of living wage jobs, as opposed to that too. Oh, here's a good one. How is there any changes? And we'll start with Selika again. Any changes you would make to the current city budget?
Well, I would have to see what all they paying for first. I don't know where all the money is going,
So
but
would you
I
say
know what
you-
we need.
So would you say you would, if you were elected, that first thing you do would create an audit, so you would actually just look at the numbers?
Exactly. And then I will go with what we need first. And right now, we need a drone because we need to surveillance. That's how we're going to cut the invasions, the home invasions. That's how we're going to cut the burglaries. We need a police drone. We need cameras attached to those shot spotters because for one, it's going to decrease the numbers of shootings because people are going to know it's a public service announcement. We have cameras attached to shot spotters now. So play with us if you want to. They're not going to shoot. It went down 43% in Chicago. And you know, Chicago have 600-700 murders per year. Then after that, we're going to know who's doing the shooting. So we need that. And then GPS trackers are $9.98 on Amazon. I've already then talked to the city and explained to them, we can also send out 500 trackers to the cars that get stolen the most, which are Kias and Hondas. If we give 500 residents of Oakland the trackers, which would be $5,000 for the trackers off of Amazon, once their car gets stolen, they can call the police. Then the police can be able to catch the person and the action. So that way they are arresting because it's not like people just wake up every day and say, let me go biff a car. Oh, let me go rob a car or let me go and do a home invasion. No, these people get up like a job every day. It's the 1% of the 10% of criminals that get up and bit from 1 to 3, start doing home invasions from 4 to 6, you know, and then they have a whole schedule because when I looked at the home invasion rates, the Asians are the #1 target because they know that they don't believe in banks. Caucasian is the second, and then third is the Blacks. So the thing is this, they're very strategic about their plans and how they orchestrate their crime. This is called organized crime because it's multiple people that's involved in it. It's not just one person that's just going around bipping. No, it's a team of people that's doing this. And they're vicious because if they don't get what they want, they will shoot and kill you. They don't have no cameras. The police ain't around. A drone not following them, so they can get away with it. It's over 2,000 murders that have not been solved because they don't have no footage. Do you know that African Americans back in 1980 used to be 47% in Oakland? We are down to 21% in Oakland. So that's either by murders and gentrification. So people who live in Oakland need jobs to be able to afford to stay in Oakland.
And before you respond, let me ask a direct question. The money for the drones and the GPS, would you raise taxes to find that, or would you, again, after doing?
I need to see the budget because I need to see what they spending all their money on because I need to see where what we need first.
Okay, reallocate.
So if y'all want to have a budget, you know what I mean, for a holiday parade or something like that, and we can go buy 5,000 GPSs to combat this 51% of carjacking, that's what we go get.
Okay, and now Edward, same thing. Is there any changes you'd make to the city budget?
Yeah, I mean, when I did a quick take on the budget and looked at the restricted funds and the general fund, first I was just surprised to see that just the percentage of money of our collective wealth in the general fund that goes to funding our police department. I feel like, you know, that general fund is essentially our, like I said, our collective wealth, and what we spend it on sort of determines just how it expresses our values in a way. And if 50% of our money is going into policing us, then I feel like the long-term ramifications of putting half of our money into policing ourselves, you know, if you look 15 to 20 years down the road, is an increased investment in police going to help, or is an increased investment in sort of already existing community-based organizations that have deep relationships with the communities that they're operating in? Is that going to make a bigger positive change? Whether it's like mentorship or apprenticeships with local unions, or you know, creating those living wage jobs that you're talking about. You know, I do believe that there is a lack of opportunity out there for a lot of people, and that has to be what's driving some of this. I mean, I think the inflation that everyone is experiencing, along with just the pandemic, it definitely took a toll on people's mental health, and it disproportionately affected communities of color. So it is a fine line to walk. We do need near-term solutions to the rise in crime, but I think we do need to have a long game, and we need to make investments today to create sort of people talk about late-stage capitalism. I feel like we can't wait for capitalism to just crumble and rebuild from rubble. Like, we need to start operating and creating the post-capitalist world that we want to live in and that we want our kids and grandkids to inherit. And so I think by making big, bold, imaginative investments in infrastructure and sort of transforming the way the city operates, yes, an audit. And yes, I mean, let's audit the city charter. Let's re-examine that and just like do a deep dive, and just we need our government to reflect our values more as just a community. And I think that we need to maybe not divest in police. I mean, maybe a little bit, because they take a lot of money, and we need to see where the money is going in the OPD and see how it's being spent. And if we can reallocate one officer's worth of yearly budget into buying drones and to buying trackers, then those are the kind of fresh ideas that we should be exploring.
Cool. And we actually have demilitarized the police. It's like they've already shown that they cannot play with those toys very well. They abuse them. And then I only have one more, and if anyone else has questions, please do as well. Is that let's also know that the OPD is still one step away from receivership. Like, they still have not met the federal judges' requirements to prove that they are following the Constitution as far as stops and all that. So they're not there too. So with that said, if we have the trackers and the drones, how would you, I'm not even gonna say would you believe you, but how would you deal with abuse of drones and things? And I mean everywhere from, oh, now we're only targeting the Black communities, to, which is probably more likely, OPD is flying those drones over your daughter's house and watching her sunbathe. How would you deal with those situations? And we'll start with Edward first this time, please.
I mean, there needs to be severe consequences. I know police unions are probably strong and getting people punished in ways that they should be. may be difficult, but I feel like people need to be held accountable. They're servants. They're supposed to be servants, serving our communities. And if they're overstepping bounds, then they need to be prosecuted. They need to be held accountable. We need to have people with high moral standards doing this most important work of keeping us safe. If that's their job, that's what they should be doing. And if that's not what they're doing, it's a breach of trust, and it should be a breach of their contract, and they should be held liable. And if they, like with anybody in our city government, if they're embezzling money, if they're just stealing from our collective wealth, then they need to be let go. Maybe you get one warning, but if it's an egregious big thing and you're just scraping things off for your personal wealth, then that can't be tolerated. I would use my position as a city council member to encourage the mayor and the city administrator and the chief of police, if we ever get one, to, hold these people accountable. Yeah, abusing people, doing things like you're saying, disproportionately monitoring communities of color, and God forbid, spying on someone sunbathing in the backyard. I mean, that should be unconscionable, but it's something that unfortunately in our world today might happen. So yeah, they need to be held accountable and punished.
Thank you. Selika, please.
So it needs to be recorded each time they even use the drones. It should only be for what we need it for, which is the burglaries and home invasions only. It shouldn't be to see the prostitutes out there, to be like, oh, well, we need to catch the prostitutes. No, it shouldn't be for any other type of crime, because that can be police patrol. The only reason why we need drones is because we can't get to the home invasions on time, and because we can't get to the burglaries on time. So we need technology for that. And if anything that goes beyond that, then it's consequences. You need to be fired. Because if you bold enough to do that, and we record every time you touch this drone and send it out, then you don't need your job no more, because we got to get rid of all the bad apples. That's why the police have a bad stigma on them now, because, to be honest, even if their coworker, their partner not telling, you need to be fired too, because you accessory. If I'm with somebody doing a crime, they gonna make me go to jail, right? So they need to go to jail too, or they need to be fired, reprimanded, however they do it, So that's what I'm for. It needs to be recorded every time they're using it. And if they're using it other than what we need it for, which is the burglaries and the home invasions, then they're out of there.
Thank you. Orlando, you have your hand up, please, go ahead.
Yes. I just have one hard question to both the candidates around your platform. The city council, if y'all not aware, the city council took $17 million and they took it from the police department and they added 3.6 million and put it into the new micro program that helps civilians and crisis responders, fire department, first aid and mental health crisis, and so forth. How would you partnership with those alliances that are getting funded to contribute to those programs that are doing great work in the community?
I think that is, Selika, it's you first, please. Yeah.
Yeah, Macro is actually a good program because they deal with the mental health. And the little that I know about it is that they are a separate service. They don't have a phone service yet. but they have an email and they'll contact you right back in about 5 or 10 minutes. But, you know, it's a lot of people that's running around here that has mental illness. You know that they're not eating. You know that they can't take care of themselves. And so if you call the police, they're not going to do anything about it. So we do need a program that is for their, you know, for the mental health. Now, I don't know if they have a facility for them where they come pick them up and take them to, but if they did, that'll be good too. So macro is good, but 17 million, you know, the drones don't cost that much because only one drone is being used in Mexico, and it brought down the crime rate by 10% just using one drone. So like, say for instance, with the Asian community, not their community, but actually, it is their community, I'm sorry. They had about 18 home invasions. So these home invasions are not happening like at the same time because it's really like the same people that's doing the home invasion. So they're going from house to house. So we can start off with just one drone, and we can start off with the 500 GPS trackers for the bait cards. And New York, they supply 500 air tags to their residents, and that's how they combated their carjackings and their car thefts. So New York is way bigger than Oakland, so we can combat that very easily. So we wouldn't be taking away a lot from macro, but macro does need to be funded. And because, you know, the police, you call them, they don't answer. And if you do call them, it's been times where a naked woman was in front of, she had mental illness and she was in front of someone's business, and someone called, and it was like, what are we supposed to do? You know, she sleep, you know, it's nothing we're supposed to do. So that's why macro is so important, because they will be able to handle the ones with the mental illness. So long as we have different programs that can combat different situations that we know that we have in Oakland, instead of sweeping them under the rug and just allowing these people to just walk around and not be fed, clothed, or you know, filled with their meds, like, we need that program. So I'm all for what we need. Once we have everything we need, and as far as like even funding the youth, we need to fund the youth, because if we do not fund those youth programs, they're going to grow up and, you know, do what these criminals are doing, because they're not being trained right. They're not being brought up right. So, you know, sometimes a lot of, you know, the mothers run around there, you know, listening to certain rap musics, and, you know, sometimes the father is not in the home in the Black community. So they need some type of structure. And so we have these programs for them, you know, helping them to raise them as young gentlemen and young women, then young ladies, I'm sorry, you know, they can be better people, because we're planting seeds in them, seeds of greatness, actually. So we have to start with prevention, and then work on the ones that's in jail. So we have to rehabilitate them before they come back on the street, so it'll be less likely that they will reoffend.
Absolutely. Edward, please.
Yeah, I just want to echo Selika's last comments there about investing in our youth. I mean, if we can make the investment in our youngest people today, I think that's going to alleviate a lot of the issues we're seeing today in 15 or 20 years. When they have structure and they have guidance and mentorship, then they're going to be much less likely to end up turning to criminal behavior to make ends meet, or to gravitate towards, I don't know, gangs as a form of sort of community and connection. But definitely, I love the concept of macro, the Department of Violence Prevention. Those are things that we need to more robustly fund. I mean, they have, I feel like, slow response times, just like the OPD. I don't know if it's a structural issue at this point, but I've been in situations where people have tried to reach out to macro for help, and they're sometimes slow to respond. So, I mean, I would even advocate for increased funding in programs like that. I mean, it would be great if they just had patrols themselves and were able to roll around, and while they're not getting actively called, you know, identifying people just, you know, obviously in distress on the street, not getting help, and helping them. I mean, there's a saying that says that, like, the health of a culture or society is measured by how we take care of our most vulnerable populations. And right now, you know, on our bike ride to school, we got to pass under the 24 on either 42nd Street or 45th Street. And me and my sons ride by just massive, dirty encampments from our unhoused brothers and sisters forced to live on the street. And our idea of compassionate care right now is to provide a porta potty and clean it once a week. And that's the best we're doing as a city government. That's the best that our collective will is providing for these people who are struggling. You know, sometimes, yes, they made a bad decision, or yes, they got into drugs, but other times it's not that. It's just a medical bill that made them wind up on the street. It's, you know, they had to take care of the kids and missed a day of work, and now them and their kids are living on the street. I mean, at my son's school, there are unhoused families who come to that school. And so, I mean, it breaks my heart to see, and we need, yes, to fund more things like macro. I mean, I would say above OPD, but I mean, I feel like we just need to do a deep dive and a big audit on our police department. And we need to figure out what's going on in there, where's the money going, because it is just such a big part of our budget. And if so much of our collective wealth is going to this one organization to police and incarcerate our, like, disadvantaged and, like, historically trod upon populations, then that's just, it's backwards. And we need, like I said, really imaginative structural shifts within our city. And I believe that we can do it. And I want to identify and mobilize and organize, not only in District 1, but in different districts throughout our city. And I think we need a long game, energizing, organizing to make just big, brave changes. I would love it if Oakland in 20, 25, 30 years is looked at from around the country as an example of how things can and should be done. I believe we can, like, just historically with, I mean, one street over here on 47th Street, here in my North Oakland neighborhood, this is where the Black Panther organization, like, laid its roots. And, like, Oakland is steeped in just social justice, in progressive politics. And I think we just need to reinvigorate that, like, right now in 2024. I want to see, you know, like, council members like Councilwoman Fife. I read her website and all her bullet points, and they resonate with me a lot. I'll just leave it at that. I could ramble on, but I will not.
And I'd like to have you vote, especially after the paperwork is all filed, come back and we would actually, you know, I could dedicate an entire meeting and we could have these discussions, because yes, we can go on forever and ever. I will mention for you too. So there was the UC Berkeley study that, like, 3 months ago, that I mean, of course, there's trash that goes along with the houseless encampments and all that. But what they found is that most of the trash that is at these encampments is being dumped by other people because they know nobody cares about them. So I just went and did landscaping. You paid me to take it to the dump. I didn't take it to the dump. I took it to a houseless encampment and just dumped it over. And that, like I said, that study is UC Berkeley, and that's really just happened. Yes, go ahead, please.
So whenever you get a chance, just Google the broken window theory. Because if we didn't have no encampments, and we didn't have no tents, like people just sleeping on the streets, people wouldn't dare do that. If it was clean, landscaped, streets power washed, they will not do that.
And if you've been a world traveler, go to Japan, right, and go to Australia, right, and just look at their streets in some of their major cities, and you would not. It's not like that in a lot of other places.
They wouldn't play that. People know
wouldn't.
not to play with them. Some places to cut your hands off for stealing.
Right. Well,
Some
a lot of it
places,
too is the community just doesn't accept it. And I think that goes back to
right, but it's,
education. Where the
people need to see beautiful. If I see landscape, clean streets, like how would I feel to throw something on it will mess me up. But if it's already trash there and I just throw some more trash, what difference do it make?
Absolutely. Yes. And it's
We have to first with housing our homeless. And I feel like we have about 5,000 homeless people. In order to combat that, some people need help with their rent right now. We can use that money to say, hey, you want to house this person? We'll give you $1,000 a month. I don't know how much it costs, but I'm just saying, we'll give you $500, $1,000 a month. Somebody will take that person in because guess what? That's getting help with their rent. And now that person don't have to sleep on the streets. And then now we have more.
Sorry, we'd have to add we'd have to add the mental health services for that as well. Like, just.
Oh yeah. So they will have a worker. They will make sure that this person is getting taken care of. You're not just taking the money and just putting them out. We will be able to do pop-ups and all that, like something like a CPS. Like when kids are in adoption, they can just pop up, or they once a month where they checking to see how the person is and things like that. And a lot of people would get on that because they need extra money, and a lot of people have extra space. And then we can, we have shelters, some people, but the thing is this, we can't, being homeless should be illegal. I don't care if somebody want to sleep in a tent. My auntie used to live on the streets on 84th Avenue, right there by the Ebony Beauty Supply. My grandmother had a whole house down the street, but she refused to come because she liked it to be out there with her friends, and it was probably drugs involved, and so she wouldn't go home. But she also had a mental health issue. So that's why she really wanted to be on the streets, until she got shot out there by a stray bullet in front of a police that was just sitting point out there. She made it on the news, and her kids said, enough is enough. If you don't want to go to grandma's house, you got to come with us. And they made her get off the streets. So this is the thing. These people don't know better. They don't know no better. They have mental health. We shouldn't just let them live like that. That's not, it's inhumane unless we have like a tent area, but we will have showers hooked up there, food, resources. They wouldn't be able to just have to just go to the garbage can and go get their own food for the day. We should be able, if they want to stay in a tent, or we can have a tent area or something, I don't know, but have resources for them. We go there and have resources for them. So the thing is this, we can have somebody clean up over there, make sure that everything is clean. It'll be like a little community, like how the RVs have their community. What is it called? The trailer parks. They have trailer parks. We can make a tent park. And it will have to be cleaned up, and resources and everything that they need there, but it'll be away from businesses. It will be away from our main streets. And it will just be out of the public view. And then that way, they'll have their little area, and we ain't have to worry about nobody dumping no trash there because it's going to be clean there. They only dump in trash where they see that people don't care about these people, or they don't care about this area because it's not clean or it's not landscaped. They don't care. So they're going to dump there. So.
Well, thank you both. And tell you our process, we will talk about this on our own. And we're just a club, but what we do is definitely put it out in our own literature. What I would encourage you to do as well, after, even if you don't have a staff, but if you get once you get your paperwork filed, the county Green Party actually has an official process where they have questionnaires that you fill out, they answer, and they actually do an endorsement process, and then that goes out to all of our 8,000 members, and also will be in the voter guides, and when we do all of our stomping and things like that. I see Orlando's hand before we move
Yeah, I
on.
was gonna add on what Vicente said too. And then also y'all join some of our Green Party meetings so you can get some of the history and on some of the things that you're talking about, you have a clear understanding around it. So when you're out there in the public and attacking them, you can hit them with the city charter, city administration, or what organization that you're tapping in with, what city administration relationships you have, if it's getting into office, and just with the council members in theory, what is your relationship? Like Vicente said, we all ran for office, we all been on the battlefield. We do this every day, 365 days, 75 days a year. It's very tapped and tuned into the city, and that's why we're the Oakland Greens. We're a real strong grassroots force, but we'll educate y'all on the process, and I thank y'all for coming out tonight also.
As I mentioned, I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone. We'd love to have you back, and we can have a specific meeting where we don't have other agenda items, and we'll just have these discussions. We can just spend the whole time doing it, and I can. So even for this one, once it's all done, I will put it up raw footage, just how we do it, and then I also will do some editing. So there'll be, oh, here's for this question, and it'll have your specific comments on it and things like that too. The raw footage will go up immediately after the meeting, and then as I edit, it usually takes me about a week to get everything edited and then back up on our YouTube channel, which is fairly. Our social media is pretty big at the moment, so you will all get out there. And as Orlando said, we want to thank you for coming. Does anyone else, any of the Green, Dale, anyone have anything for these candidates before we say goodbye and move on? Seeing none, thank you both for coming. You're welcome to stay as well, unless you have other obligations. And again, we'll be in touch.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having us both. It's actually me and my wife's wedding anniversary right now, and as you can see, the kids were getting into bed, so I'm going to
certainly were
early tonight. But I would love to join in the future. And you guys, like Orlando was saying, y'all have been here and doing this work on the ground in Oakland for years and years. So the knowledge and the wisdom that you guys have from the experiences that y'all have been just living is a resource that if y'all are willing to share, that I would be grateful and honored to be a part of and be a part of these conversations.
I would say that is our niche. We definitely do a lot of the groundwork right in the streets, the stuff that will not get publicity. You can't for some of the stuff we do. You can't. And
whole thing, and also study our 10 core values. I put them in the chat.
Oh yes, yeah.
So very important when you're aligning with the Greens, that you're a different party line structure. Make sure that you're aligned with our Green, democracy, social justice.
And also too, once you get your paperwork too, so next year we're going back to in-person events, which will give you a larger chance to actually connect with voters and things too. So those are on our website. You can see, and like I said, we'll have you back before the end of the year as well too. So again, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And our next agenda item is just a short discussion on Israel and Palestine and what's going on over there. And if no one has anything, I'll start, but does anyone have any thoughts on what's happening in the war whatsoever?
Zach?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was at San Francisco yesterday, and it was
Oh, we can't hear you anymore. You have no audio.
it was worse, but I hesitate. Any government is gonna pay attention to the protests.
No, definitely not. And did you hear me tell you, Greg, you're cutting in and out for long periods of time? Yeah, he's having audio problems.
Israel's getting ready to invade, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that seems to be something that is not, from my own perspective, what they haven't talked about is on both sides, it seems like more civilians are dying than soldiers, and that they don't talk about the fact that Israel is this big, huge military industrial complex, whereas any sort of militants for the Palestinians have to resort to guerrilla tactics. And yeah, and it's just, how is it, I just don't get it, how it's so once, I mean, I know too. Well, one other thing where I have it, where I take it personally, where I don't think it's any sort of policy, is that the same people that would say, never forget the Holocaust, and we got to keep on and talk about the rise in anti-Semitism, which is true, but those are also the same people that then tell me that I'm supposed to forget about slavery, I'm supposed to forget about Muafa, I'm supposed to forget about the genocide of my people. We talked about it with the candidates, where generations of Black men are locked up over fucking marijuana charges, where now I can just go to a store and buy it like I'm going to Safeway and shit. So, right, so you don't even, you want to know what the difference, well, and then my street side too says, oh, well, I know what it is that the Jewish community in this country think that they're white and not realizing that those Trump supporters and those actual white nationalists, they don't consider them white. Those are the same people that are going on and burning synagogues and, painting swastikas and shit, as well as lynching Black people. So there's one, again, that's personal to me, but it does seem as a whole, they keep forgetting about the fact that on both sides, like the civilians are the ones that are suffering the most. And isn't that policy that Israel has too, of saying, oh, you all have to leave Gaza, but we're not giving you any exits whatsoever, right? Isn't that kettling like they do at a rally, right? They block off all the intersections and then tell everybody to disperse, but there's nowhere to go.
No, they said they have to evacuate North Gaza. They said everybody in North Gaza has to go.
Yeah, but they didn't give them a way out. And Egypt's not opening its border.
So they people couldn't get out anyway. So
sorry, right, exactly. So you can't. It's like the same fucking tactic. Drives me crazy. I mean, we wouldn't expect that from any of the mainstream media, but you don't even hear it from, what we call our so-called progressive media. We don't hear any of that shit. And it's really sad. So those are kind of our quick takes. Anyone, you have anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to iterate.
Yeah.
What about that $6 billion that the United States held and gave it back to Iran, and then traded one of the top nuclear arms guy in America to help fund that nuclear war?
Absolutely. Well, and isn't all of this, whether we're venting or speaking of specific policies that could change, is why we say we need slates of people before profit candidates to actually get elected and try to get people motivated. I'd settle for this next election cycle if 60% of registered voters vote. I don't see it happening, but it sure would be nice if that would be, the case and all that. So, anything else? Hearing none, or seeing none. So we are at the finals of our virtual events. We are going back to in person at the game store. I will be getting a key from Chris in December. Now my task this month is to go ahead and making graphics and go ahead and get the Eventbrite links up so it doesn't go blank at the end of the season for a month. And so what we had focused on, so January, immigration, February, housing, March will be Israel, April will be about race, and we're specifically going to use, I don't know if anyone remembers that Phil Donahue had a show, and he did this show on race with Farrakhan, so we will show that and then discuss afterwards. Our linguistics town hall is going to be something close to my heart about profanity. Something I love in my language. I definitely curse quite a bit. And then June will be our education. July is our alternative politics. August, military industrial complex, specifically PTSD. September, reparations. And October, our last one will be on the 2024 elections. And doing one again, we'll discuss who the candidates are and, basically share our ideas. And all these are going to be hybrids. So they will be in person at the game store, and then I'll also have a computer with Zoom on it. And, we will broadcast those as well for people who still want to come virtually if that's, something that happens. Any questions on virtual town halls or the town halls now? They're not necessarily virtual.
I would like to
Oh, a hybrid.
Yes, they're all going to be hybrids. Yes.
I would like to thank this historical run that we did during the pandemic, to stay virtual, to keep it lit, to empower ourselves. We all still alive. Those who not here, we're going to pay the way for them. So this is very, touching for me, because like I say, I think about Michael. I think about him all the time. I look at the pictures. I think about Jan. That gives me more motivation to continue to keep moving when we see ourselves in person.
I'll say that too. As the candidates were talking, I could feel Michael in my ear on certain things, and they would say as well. I'm looking forward to the hybrids and getting back into it directly. And so next is the movie nights again, which will also be hybrids. We of course won't broadcast the movie for copyright reasons, but we will do the dinner discussion beforehand, and then of course the actual cinema and history discussion afterwards. So for January, we're going to do, I switched around, we have different ones. So I moved, January will be 8 Below, which is it's a great movie. It has happy endings, but I cry through the whole damn thing. February will be Sausage Party, which is going to be a great discussion because I don't know how they made this movie in this time frame of so-called like wokeness and where you can't, say certain things, but they did it, and that's an animated movie. March will be The Whale, which is a great play that they made a movie out of. I'm looking forward to that. And actually, a lot of these this year I actually haven't seen. So I tested to make sure that the signal was okay, and of course looking for subtitles as well, but I wanted to be surprised as everyone else and make it fresh. April will be You People, which is a movie about interracial dating, which is really funny and really topical. May, we're bringing back, because this will be our 5th season, we're going to go back to the beginning, and the first one we're going to watch Let It Burn, which will also be the anniversary of the Move bombing in May. I'll see if I can get my uncle to give me some sort of statement as well. When I talked to Chris personally, when I went down and cornered her at the game store and we hashed all this out, she asked and requested that I do some animation in the summer to try to get some of her to tie in, her game store and the things the camps that she does and things for kids. So I did stay still 16 and over, again, not necessarily completely voting age, but close to be. So for our animation series in the summer, June is going to be the movie World of Warcraft, which is from a game. Ghost in the Shell, July 2008, and that will be the Japanese version, and it's animated. And then August, we're going to do Ghost in the Shell, which is 2017, which is actually with Scarlett Johansson, which will give us a good topical, the fact that it's a Japanese movie and they cast Scarlett Johansson. In September, August was the last one of the animated series. September will be the Stanford experiment, Everyone probably remembers the Stanford experiment. They made a movie out of it. Haven't seen that one either. October would be a great movie, Rabbit Proof Fence, which is a movie about two Australian sisters during the colonization process when they were taking children from their Aboriginal parents and putting them in Christian schools the way they did to the First Nations, the indigenous people on this continent. Really, it's an incredible movie to them too. So is there any questions about our movie series? No, yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to get back in person too. Now, moving on to our Treasury report. Also, well, no, there is one change. So Bank of the West is no more. They became BMO, and that actually took away the issue. Now I can actually just make deposits. It's not a hassle. I can see about, I'm going to see about getting online access for them as well. So that with deposits there, they actually came up a little above, so it's a little above $414. You still have the 194 in our PayPal, 1,200 in the business, 200 in savings. None of that has changed, and the reason that is, oh, and I did actually link our Eventbrite to our Oakland Greens credit union account. So that way the money will just, get deposited automatically at the end. But as you know, and I'm still going through, we still have, mental health crisis in my family, and then I'm dealing with, which was topical compared to what we were talking about with the candidates. We have a mental health issue of a houseless addict who is our neighbor living out front in their car, and they're terrorizing the neighborhood, like violence, and it's getting really, really bad. So I've had to cancel, and then also being back in a position, excuse me, not crying, just throat, of having to always take work. So we've missed a few events for doing that. So now hopefully we're back into it again. And then of course, once we're in person, I also think that would help get our donations up, and we'll then have to talk more about which we can still print now. We have no problem with that, but going forward with that. That is our Treasury. None. Next is the same social media. Again, keeping us afloat. We're live now on Instagram, and I keep posting on. And then I've reactivated our Twitter account, so we're posting there as well, and getting followers. And always the thing is trying to get engagement, people to actually talk onto it, but we still get a lot of likes, same amount of likes, and it's still increasing. Like I said, now the next one is, so by the end of the year, next year, instead of it being like 20, 25, I'd love to just double it. So get, 50 people at least engaging, saying, oh, we agree with that particular point, meme that I have posted. And that's social media. And now we're into outreach. And so I have done, again, printing out stuff for Cornel West, handing it at Kaiser. The strike was going on. I was down there when I had an appointment, and was stomping, do it here in Fruitvale, and then just trying to just be out seeing green as well. So we've been doing that for trying to get the West. And I admit too that I have saying that I feel, and I said this in the organizing committee meeting too, which I'm part of for California, Cornel West, I think that the strategy should be getting 10%. I don't think we should focus on trying to have him win the actual election. I don't see that statistically, I don't see that happening. But I do think we have an opportunity, if our focus is just to get 10, 15% of the vote, I think that is possible. So there's my outreach on Cornel West. Does anyone else have any, outreach? Greg, do you have anything?
Well, there's been quite a bit of stuff happening since he announced he was running as an independent and not as a Green. And I guess the big thing in a practical sense is that now he's got to get 200,000 signatures to get on the ballot in California.
Right.
So you can't actually start getting signatures till April. So I suspect that between now and April, there's going to be a lot of organizing to try to find thousands of volunteers to help get signatures, and of course probably raise hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire some people, because you probably can't get it all through volunteers. So yeah, it's going to be a monumental task, but I guess, you know, I hope I hope he figured all that out when he decided to go independent, because
Right.
we're probably going to hear about the organizing and the need to, you know, get people to help out with that before the end of the year, I suspect.
And Orlando, I see your hand up, please.
And then by being on the credential committee, we also have, remember we talked about this before, the other candidates that is running, and we're trying to see how that support is going to go around the Green candidate, whether we get some Greens join independent just because of the movement. And it's a lot of, you know, miscommunication around the situation. But I think overall we'll be okay.
Right, because the people will bounce ship because of the name recognition of Cornel West and not so much here. But I still think even Greens, we should, every one of our candidates the goal should be to get like 10% and not trying to win.
I think we have a better access because we got ballot access. So a lot of these other candidates, we was over 36, we up to the 40, but you figure with the Cornel West baby boomer push, that helped us get a lot of work done before he announced his jumping. So that leaves also us as a party still a force, because we got a lot of states that a lot of other independents don't even come close to.
Anyone have anything else on Cornel West? None. The next one is the OUSD election. And like I said, I've gotten one letter already and starting to get literature and all that. So, you know, we'll go out and I'm in the district. So, you know, I'll be working on that campaign as well. I'm talking to folks, and I don't like any of the candidates, but okay. I mean, that's not surprising. And I guess it only affects me because I'm the only one in District 5. So, then the next one actually is yours, Orlando, the Pamela Price
Wait a
President.
minute.
Oh, sorry.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Go ahead, Greg.
No,
Sorry.
going back to the OUSD. So I decided to endorse Sasha, Ritzy Hernandez. And looks like most of the progressive groups that endorse her, because, you know, her responses were better about closing schools. But we're just curious. We printed materials and sent out stuff, but people have not heard. Have you from the opponent, Lerma, whatever his name is?
Just that I've started.
Hello?
I've started getting literature from them. I got that, and it was just yeah. I got a letter, and you know,
something from them. Okay.
Yeah. They're starting. It's starting already. But I mean, I skimmed over and looked at the bulletin. I'm like, okay, well, this is, and we've heard it before too. I mean, how many? Mike said, that he was, going to be way more radical than he ended up being.
Yeah.
So I think the proof is always in the pudding, right? Let me taste the cake, before I know it's got poison in it. So we'll see how that goes. But I also try to take it or at least I feel like I take it with a grain of salt too, that for this particular group, even the people extended, Don and everyone, I don't think they, anyone that's running could never match what we would love to see, how radical we'd love to see them, right? Like, being an activist, fighting for more funding, fighting, not even just funding, fighting for like the same thing when we talk about our education platform, I want to go to, whoever the internet provider is and say, why are you charging me this much? I should be paying pennies on the dollar because it's going to go to all of our schools. It's going to go to all of our administration, right? We should get a better deal, right? They should be selling it to us like drugs. The larger the quantity, the cheaper it is. But yeah, every time we talk about it, it's like, I know that they're never going to match up to what we're talking about. So anything else OUSD election? Now we're hearing none. And now we're back to you, please, Orlando, about the Pamela Price press conference, please.
Well, me and James had a good, interesting talk with Lynn Johnson a couple of days ago, Thursday at 10 in the morning. And we basically discussed it where we can add more folks to be more involved in the process. And me and James recommended that Pamela come to Green Sunday, then we can get more thoughts, more engagement in the press release instead of just these 2 individuals or 3 individuals, a group participation. And I'm looking forward to contacting Antoine and see if we can make this possible for this Green Sunday. Over.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Anyone have any questions? Comments? Pamela? Do we have any announcements?
Welcome back to Sente Cruz.
Yeah, this is an announcement. And if that's only one, I move we adjourn. And this has been Vicente Cruz, Oakland Greens Event and Fundraising Coordinator. We look forward to seeing you in person in January. We look forward to seeing you at our last 2 events for Virtual Town Hall. Is non-monogamy a Green Party family value, and ending movies. So take care, everyone. Be well. Peace.